अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रये। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। सर्वेभ्यो नमः। सर्वेषां कृते स्वागतम्. So today, before we begin the discussion on Bhagavad-gita, I thought I will tell you a small story. So this is a story of a village with a well outside it. This village is on the bank, on the slope of a hill. There's a hill, and this hill at its bottom has got a very beautiful lake, a large lake. Next to this village, on the hill itself, there is a big well, and the villagers go to the well for drawing water. So in this well, there are a number of frogs who make their living, and they've been living there for generations together. So these frogs, they are born in the well, they live in the well, and they die in the well. So they don't have much idea of what exists outside the well. So as they live there, they experience all the kinds of happiness and distress that is possible within their well. For example, the well is large enough to permit them to play as and how they want. They jump into the well, they swim, they compete with each other. They get their food in the well. And the well also has a number of things which gives them misery. For example, the well has some snakes in it, and snakes feed on frogs. Similarly, the well also has some tortoises. Tortoises also sometimes eat frogs. Similarly, the well has certain aspects in it where sometimes the frogs, they get stuck and they die, like stones. So the well is both their source of happiness and their source of misery. One fine day, they find amongst their midst, there is a frog who looks very different from them. He looks much healthier than them. He's got a kind of a glow about him. And he's moving about very happily in the well. They've never seen him before. So they go to him and ask him, who are you? Where have you come from? We've not seen you before. Are you a part of this well, or have you come from outside? Have you accidentally fallen into this well from somewhere? So he introduces himself. He says, oh, actually, I come from the lake, which is outside this hill, outside this well, and outside the hill as well. And I just thought, I want to see you people. I've never seen this well before, so I thought I'll come and spend some time with you. So they're very surprised. They say, what do you mean lake outside this well? There's nothing outside this well. No, there is this well is actually on a hill. And next to the hill, there's a huge lake. So they keep asking him about the lake, and they cannot believe that what he's saying can be true. He tells them, look, the lake is much, much bigger than this well. And that lake has only people like you and me. It has frogs, it has fishes, it has plants, it has very beautiful flowers. And sometimes people come there, they do boating there, they throw some food, and we get that food also. It's a beautiful place. So they say that what you saw, what you described to us sounds really great, really magnificent. But we are not able to really accept that what you say can be true, because when we look up, for us, we see the sky above us. You see that circle? Yes, above the well there is a circle, right? And everything exists there. Where is the lake? Show us. He says, no, you can't see the lake by looking up. You have to go to the lake, only then you can see it. But what do you mean by going to the lake? He says, you have to go inside the well. Deep inside the well, that's where I came from. Deep inside that well, there's a path. You have to find that path. Go along that path and keep going and going. And finally, you'll come out. And when you come out, you will see the lake in front of you. And you can jump into the lake. And then you will be a part of that lake. They say, but deep inside the well, there are only snakes, there are crocodiles, there are tortoises. They will eat us up. What do you mean, go deep inside the well? Are you trying to fool us? Are you trying to somehow trick us into getting caught by some of these animals? What are you saying? So after some time, there is a party which is formed among the frogs, which start discussing and saying, this fellow is an imposter. He's coming here with some imaginary ideas. He's telling us that there is a lake outside. Clearly, all that we can see is just that patch above us. And that is the universe. There's nothing like a lake outside. This is just imaginary. This guy has imagined something. Or he knows the truth, but he's trying to fool us. He has come from somewhere. I think, look, he looks different. He's actually sent by them, sent by those snakes, crocodiles, tortoises who are living below to try to allure us to that place. They can eat us up. So don't believe him. He's an imposter. So in this way, this poor fellow, he tries to convince them for some time, and then he realizes that they've been here for generations together, and all they can see is that patch of sky above. And it's not possible to convince them that there is a huge and beautiful lake outside where they can live a very happy life. So he quietly goes back. While going back, there is one frog who has actually developed some conviction in what he has been saying. So that frog comes to him and says that, sir, please don't leave without me. I've been hearing you all these days, and I want to really know whether you are telling the truth. How can I know that? So that frog says, look, I've tried to explain to you all that I know, all that I have been experiencing in my life. I was born in the lake. I have been living in the lake for a long time, and I came here to share that with you. And if you also want to know what the lake is and experience it, the only way you can do it is by coming with me. There is no other way. If you trust me that I will not harm you, then please come with me. So this person, he's so curious and he's so inquisitive. He says, it's okay. After all, I'm going to die after some time here. So if I die a little earlier by taking some risk, then nothing will change. I'm going to die anyway. So let me go with this guy and see what happens. So then they both go inside. They go deep, deep, deep inside. They don't find any snakes, crocodiles, frogs, tortoises there. They just go deep inside. And finally, they reach somewhere near the bottom of that well. And then he says, look, there's a tunnel here. Let's go inside this tunnel. They go inside the tunnel. They go, they keep going, keep going, keep going. After some time, they find a place where the tunnel starts going upwards, upwards, upwards. And finally, there's no more water. They find dry land. And then he says, now come with me. So they start walking on that land. They start jumping, the frog movement. They go along, and finally they see an opening. And they come to that opening, and in front of them is huge space. This frog says, oh God, what is this? I never knew this existed. All that I saw above me was that circle all my life. He says, this is reality. And now he says, come outside. So they go outside, and they're at the edge of the hill. And just before that lake, they can see the lake, they can see the hill. And then he says, now look back. Looks back, says, can you see that small dot in the distance? Says, yes, that is the well in which you are living. And now I've brought you here. Now see this. He says, wow, that well is so small in front of this world. There's such a huge world outside. So with that realization, they both jump into the lake and then they live there happily. So this is where we are right now. We are in that small well. You got the message. The Gita, the intention of the Gita is to take us out of this well and show us that huge lake and that huge reality in front of us. Within this well, we think we know everything. When somebody tells us there is something outside, there is this, when the Gita tells us, the Bhagavatam tells us, and the Shastras tell us that there is a huge reality outside this world, this existence that we are in. We tend to think that this is so fantastic, this is so wonderful to hear, that it cannot be true. It must be some imagination. Some great poet has created all this. Some old people, in those days people had nothing to do. Today we have science, technology, we have advancement, we have modernity. Those days people didn't even have electricity. They had nothing to do. They were just sitting quietly. And some of them were poetic in mind, so they kept writing these things. They used their imagination. They wrote these things. If you believe in, do you believe in this? You're a fool. So this is how people talk, right? And they continue to live like frogs in the well. If we believe that, then we will be like frogs in the well. Fortunately for us in India, there have been many, many people, our ancestors, they believed in this. They understood this. Not only believed in it, but they explored and they understood it thoroughly. And they experienced that huge space outside. And where is that huge space? Actually, it is not outside what we call this universe. It's actually inside us. It's exactly like the frog took him deep inside, right? So that existence, that huge existence is deep inside of us. It's right inside of us. And the process for going there is to learn how to go inside and not to find something outside, not to search for something outside, but to look for that inside. Look and learn how to go inside and discover that existence inside. The Bhagavan that we are talking about lives inside of us, not outside of us. So finding Bhagavan and experiencing his dham, his existence, is actually going inside and discovering him there. And the Gita is teaching us that process of yoga by which we learn how to go inside. It's a process of internal discovery, not a process of external discovery. All the modern knowledge that we learn is about the external world, right? Becoming happy, whether it is science, technology, business, arts, everything is looking outside. Whereas the Gita and the supporting Shastra like Bhagavatam is teaching us how to look inside of us. So what have we been talking about? In the Bhagavad-Gita, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita are devoted to discussing the process known as Karma Yoga. Predominantly, they talk about Karma Yoga. They also touch upon Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. And at the end of the 6th chapter, the last shloka of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Amongst all the yogis, is that one who is actually connected to me, madgatena antaratmana, by his inner self. He is absorbed in me. Madgatena means he has gone into me. He has entered into me by his self, inner self, antaratmana. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. With Shraddha, he does my bhajan, he does my seva. Bhajate means engages in my seva. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam, same yukta tamo mataha. He is the person who is best connected in yoga. So even though the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are predominantly about Karma Yoga, the concluding shloka of the 6th chapter is a pointer to Bhakti Yoga. It is called the Sutra. Sutra means that which is indicator or initiator. It initiates the discussion on Bhakti. So the second set of 6 chapters in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 7 to chapter number 12, they are fully devoted to Bhakti Yoga, process of Bhakti. So right from the 7th chapter, Sri Bhagavan speaks about Bhakti and about himself as the object of Bhakti. Bhakti towards whom? Bhakti towards him. And we are the persons performing Bhakti. Now, the mentality of bhakti is the same as the mentality that he also has. It is not that Sri Bhagavan thinks of himself as I am the supreme master, I am the Lord, I am the Ishvara. All that is true, he is the Ishvara, but he doesn't think of himself in that manner. He is also thinking of how to do seva. He has the seva mentality in the best possible way. He is perfect in everything, including the mentality of seva. Right? So it's not that he is the master and we do seva to him. He is also thinking all the time, how do I do seva to the other living beings, all the living beings, right? So in Vrindavan, we were talking on Janmashtami day about Vrindavan, right? In Vrindavan, the predominant mood is the mood of seva. Everybody thinks, what can I do for the other person? Paropakarartham idam shariram. This is Sanatana Dharma. That's why Sanatana Dharma is modeled on the mentality of Vrindavan, how it is in Vrindavan. Say, Paropakaraya vahanti nadyaha, Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha, Paropakaraya duhanti gavaha, Paropakarartham idam shariram. So for example, the rivers, they carry so much water, but they don't drink their own water. They carry it for others to enjoy, others to drink, right? They're only thinking of others. The river does not drink its own water. The cows, they're full of milk, but they don't drink their own milk. The milk is meant for others to drink. Similarly, the fruits, which are borne by the trees bear the fruits. They stand in the sun. They bear the hot sun, the cold winter, the storms, everything they bear. They give shelter to others, and they also give the fruits for the others. So Sanatana Dharma says that Paropakarartham idham shariram. In the same way, the body that we have is actually being given by God, by Sri Bhagavan to us for Paropakar, for doing seva. Right? And this is the mood of Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, everybody thinks like that. And Sri Bhagavan is the perfection of that. He demonstrates how seva is done. From morning to night, he is engaged in the seva of all the other living beings, beginning with the Go in Vrindavan. The Go Mata who lives in Vrindavan is all the time doing their seva. He goes there, he says, they are barefoot, they are not wearing shoes. So I will also not wear shoes. I will also go barefoot. I will serve them. If there are thorns, they are walking on the thorns. I'll also walk on the thorns. Why should I wear slippers when they are not wearing them? Right? Similarly, when the Go are playing about, so he's thinking, how can I make the soil soft enough so that they don't get hurt? They don't fall, they don't get hurt. So all the time his thoughts are like that. So similarly, the boys who are doing seva to the Go, he's thinking, how can I make arrangements so that they have convenience in the way they are doing seva? Right? So all the time his mind thinks in that manner. And that is the mood in Vrindavan. So to enter Vrindavan, we have to have that mood. Enter that existence known as Vrindavan. So the second 6 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita are about Bhakti Yoga and the mood of Bhakti. And in the 7th chapter, he just introduces that, the different aspects of it. He reveals to us some aspects about himself. You see, what happens is the Bhagavad-Gita is spoken not to people who are already perfect, but it's spoken to people like us who are just on the beginning of the journey, at the beginning of the journey to discover him. We are just curious to know more about him. Why should we do this bhakti? Who is he? Who is Bhagavan? What about him is attractive? Why should we engage in his seva? Right? So the Bhagavad Gita gives us all this. In the Gita, he gives us all these details. He talks about himself. He's not talking about himself to boast about himself. He's talking about himself because we don't know about him. And that's the only way we can know about him. Right? Unless somebody tells us about him, how do we know about him? We never knew about him. Right? So he shares knowledge about himself. And he shares knowledge about how we can attain him. What are the different things we can do to attain him? So that is the 7th chapter. In the 8th chapter, that builds on. So 7th to 8th to 9th to 10th till the 12th chapter. 12th chapter is the conclusion of Bhakti Yoga. It builds on. And in the 8th chapter, the discussion began with knowing about Bhagavan, and particularly with the question about how can we attain you? Arjuna asked him that at the point of death, okay, we can live through this life, we can do different activities, but ultimately if the goal is to attain you, then at the point of death, what should we do to attain you? Yes. Prayana kale cha katham jnayosi niyatatmabhi. So he says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaf prayati tyajandeham sayati paramam gatim. So one who thinks about me at the time of death, he then comes to me. So we spent some time discussing the shloka, and we also spoke about the story of the king Bharata, how Bharata thought about a deer at the time of death, became a deer, then was born as Jada Bharata, and finally got mukti. So the story of Jada Bharata is one story which demonstrates thinking about Sri Bhagavan, or whatever you think about, you become that. Subsequent to that, Sri Bhagavan explained to us about his dham. He said that my dham is of this nature. So after talking about the reason why we should always think about him, he started speaking about always fixing our mind on him and then aiming for his dham as the ultimate goal. And to do that, he spends 5 shlokas in the 8th chapter describing about the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So in the middle of the 8th chapter is what is called as Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Bhakti which is done taking shelter of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is the process which some people find attractive to do. They're inspired by it. They're inspired by the elements of Ashtanga Yoga, which includes Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, and so on. Because that to them looks like a very systematic process and something that they are capable of doing. So with that inspiration, they start doing Ashtanga Yoga. And Shri Bhagavan points out that at the end of Ashtanga Yoga, when you are in Samadhi, you should, with the strength of bhakti, think about me and then come to me. After saying this in the 13th shloka, in the 14th shloka, Shri Bhagavan says, Ananya chetaha satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginaha. Well, Ashtanga Yoga is a process that's not meant for everybody. It's a complex process. It involves a lot of sacrifice. It requires a lot of strength. It requires enormous amount of dedication, devotion, commitment. Not everybody can do it in any yoga. In Kali Yuga, there's no question of it. Most people for sure cannot do it in Kali Yuga. And therefore, he says, the simpler process, ananya bhakti, ananya chetaha satatam, it's a simple process in which the primary element in our life becomes Sri Bhagavan himself, Krishna. So everything revolves around Krishna in Ananya Bhakti. So there are multiple aspects of Ananya Bhakti. One is that the person following Ananya Bhakti does not worship any other devata other than Krishna. And when we say this, we are not saying it with the meaning, with the connotation that other devatas are condemnable or there is anything defective in them. We're only saying that they are already included in Bhagavan. When we worship Bhagavan, when we do his seva, automatically the seva of all the other devatas is included in him. He says that in the Gita as well, right? So Ananya Bhakti means focusing our mind only on Bhagavan and not on any other devata. That is one aspect of Ananya Bhakti. Another aspect of Ananya Bhakti is that it involves not aiming for anything other than his seva. His seva is the only conclusion. So even the desire to not be born again, even that desire is removed in Ananya Bhakti. Although the outcome of Ananya Bhakti may be mukti. Mukti means not taking birth again in this material universe. But a person who aspires for Ananya Bhakti does not even desire mukti. Because even the desire for mukti is considered as a disturbance for Ananya Bhakti. Pure bhakti is about only seva. What can I do to make Sri Bhagavan happy? Okay, so he says that's a simple process. So in the Gita, he touches upon Ananya Bhakti in multiple places. He talks about bhakti in different forms, but Ananya Bhakti he highlights here and there. Okay, so in the 14th shloka, he says this. And then he says that those who come to my abode, they don't take birth again. But from the world of Brahma, in this universe, there's so many planetary systems, there's so many lokas. And from that loka of Brahma down to the lowest one, in every loka, there is this cycle of birth and rebirth, birth and death, birth and death. So only when you come to my abode will this thing stop for you. He points that out. So in the last session, we did these 3 shlokas. This is describing Brahmaloka, what happens in Brahmaloka and how his loka differs from Brahmaloka. That we'll come to today. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano vituh. Ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janaha. Avyaktat vyaktayah sarvaha prabhavanti aharagame. Ratriagame praliyante tatraiva vyakta samyake. Bhutagramah sa evayam bhutva praliyate. Ratriagame avashaha partha prabhavatyah. So in these three shlokas, he's basically pointing out that in Brahmaloka, there are different processes which happen. One of them is that every day of Brahma, there is creation and destruction of this material universe. When Brahma comes out of his sleep, he creates the universe fresh. The living beings get fresh bodies. They go through so many yugas. At the end of 1,000 Chatur yugas, everything again goes back into Brahma. And this happens in every single day of Brahma. And this repetition is the characteristic of this material universe. And eventually, Brahma's existence is also destroyed. At the end of Brahma's life, along with the life of the universe, Brahma's life is equal to the life of this universe. Both the universe and Brahma are both destroyed. Of course, the Brahma who is a bhakta, he then gets mukti. He goes back to Vishnu. But if he is not a bhakta, if he is just a great jivatma, then his punya karma is over, exhausted. And in his next birth, he will take birth in some other universe, when the new universe is created. And he lives like any other living being in this universe. So after saying all this, then what does Sri Bhagavan say? So he says in the 20th shloka of the 8th chapter, Parastasmat tu bhavonyo avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Says now compared to Brahma's loka, paraha, parastasmat, means in comparison to Brahma, what I'm going to tell you now is superior. Bhavaha, existence. That bhav, that existence is superior. Here, avyaktat. If you recollect, in the last three shlokas, Brahma was referred to as avyakta, the sleeping Brahma, from whom the universe is created. The word avyakta was used to describe him. So he's saying, superior to that avyakta. Avyakta means unmanifest. So to all of us, Brahma is unmanifest. But even superior to that unmanifest Brahma is another unmanifest entity, avyakta, another avyakta. And that bhav is paraha, is superior to the existence of Brahma. That existence is superior to the existence of Brahma. And it is, in contrast to the existence of Brahma, it is sanatana. Sanatana means that which has no ending, like sanatana dharma. Nitya. Sanatana means nitya. Iska ant nahi hota hai. It is called nitya, sanatana. Brahma's universe or Brahma's existence has got an end. But this existence I am describing now has no end. Yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu. When all the living beings are destroyed, he means the bodies are destroyed, when all this life in this universe becomes destroyed, pralaya happens. Na vinashyati. Na vinashyati. That doesn't get destroyed. Okay. So let's read both Sarartha Varshini. Sarartha Varshini is the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti. Here. Tasmat Ukta Lakshanat Avyaktat Prajapatehe. He is Prajapati Brahma. Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is another name for Brahma. Hiranyagarbhat Sakashat Paraha. Shreshtaha. Superior. Hiranyagarbhasyapi Karanabhutaha. And that existence, which is now being described, is also the cause of Brahma. The origin from where Brahma comes is also that place, that particular place that I am describing now. Karanabhutaha yo anyaha khalu avyaktaha bhavaha sanatanaha anadihi. Okay? Then this is Baladev Vidyabhushana's commentary. It's called Gita Bhushana Bhashya. Tadevam karma tantranam janma vinasha darshanena abrahma bhuvanat ityetat vivritam. So in the shloka number 8.16, Abrahma Bhuvana Lokaha Punaravartina Arjuna, in that shloka, he's saying the Janma and Vinasha, the alternating birth and death of the living beings in the universe was shown. Atha Mamupetya Etat Vivranoti Parastasmaditi. So in this shloka, he is elaborating on the 15th shloka of the 8th chapter. This is the 20th shloka. But he's now linking it to the 15th shloka. He's saying in that 15th shloka, it was said Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam dataha. One who comes to my abode will not take birth in this miserable abode again. And that same point is being repeated in this shloka. Tasmat Muktarupat avyaktat brahmanah hiranyagarbhat anyah yo bhavah padarthah parah sreshtah tatah atyanta vilakshanaha. So this dham that I am describing now in the 20th shloka is atyanta vilakshanaha. It is extremely different. It is completely different from Brahma's abode. It is not like incrementally different, marginally different. It is not like, okay, Brahma is so great. How can there be something superior to it? No, there is something slightly better than Brahma. No, it is not slightly better than Brahma. It is comprehensively better than Brahma, comprehensively distinct from Brahma. It's of a totally different nature. It is not material. Vilakshanaha means that which is very distinct, very vilakshanaha. Lakshanam means the quality or nature of something, right? Vilakshana, Vishishta Lakshana. I mean, its nature is very distinctively different from the nature of that thing. Okay, that is Vilakshanata. Vilakshanata or Vailakshanya. Vailakshanya. Okay? Yeah. Atyanta Vilakshanaha. Tasya upayasya. Tasya upasyaha ityarthaha. Tasya upasyaha means that which is worshipable of Brahma. Brahma also worships that place. Ati Vailakshanyamaha avyaktaha iti. And that is why one more avyakta is used here. For us, Brahma is avyakta, but for Brahma, even that is avyakta. That is unmanifest. Ati Vailakshanyamaha avyaktaha iti. Atma vigrahatvat pratyaka ityarthaha. Means it is not, it is inside. Pratyak means that something that is inward or interior. Prasaditastu pratyaksho api bhavati ityuktam prak. Means by his grace, by his prasad, by his kripa. Prasada means kripa, grace. By his grace, it becomes pratyaksha, it becomes manifest. We can see it if we have Bhagavan's kripa. Sanatanaha, anadihi. Sakalu hiranyagarbha paryanteshu sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. So this is the 20th shloka where he reveals that this loka is superior to Brahma's loka. Is an entity, is an existence that is unmanifest, avyakta, and is eternal and has no beginning. It is not destroyed when all the living beings in the material existence are destroyed. Avyaktokshara ityuktaha tamahuhu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadham paramam mama. Avyaktaha aksharaha, that which has no falling. Ityuktaha, it's said to be both avyakta and akshara. Akshara means that which doesn't degrade. Tamahuhu paramam gatim, that is considered the supreme destination. Yam prapya, having obtained which, na nivartante, do not return. That place, that dhama. The word dhama in Sanskrit has multiple meanings. One meaning is abode, a place of residence, dham. Another meaning of dham is effulgence or lustre, bodily lustre. We say Sri Bhagavan is self-effulgent. He is illuminating. His body does not require external light for us to see it. Right? So that dham, word dham also refers to that effulgence from his body. So both meanings can be taken here. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti in his Sarartha Varshini Tika says, Purva shlokoktam avyakta shabdam vyachashte avyaktaha iti na ksharati ityaksharaha narayana. Eko narayanaha asit brahma anacha shankaraha iti shrutehe. So Narayana, Vishnu, is the source of both Brahma and Shankara, of Shiva. Mama paramam dhama nityam swarupam. So the word dhama also refers to his nitya swarupa. Not only a place of residence, but his constitutional existence, swarupa. Swarup ka matlab kya hai? His nature, inner nature, constitutional nature. Right? Yadva aksharha paramam dhama brahmaiva madhama mattejo rupam. An alternate meaning of the word dhama. Yadva means alternatively. That word dhama can also be understood to refer to Brahma. You see, Shri Bhagavan is referred to by also two other names, Paramatma and Brahma. Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. All three of them refer to the same Bhagavan. But the people who refer to them by different names, they use those names because the way they realize Bhagavan is different. Those who pursue Bhagavan in the nature as Brahma, they think of him as an energy, as some kind of all powerful, all encompassing energy which is beyond this material existence, which has no rebirth, which is pure, which is full of consciousness and knowledge. That's how, if you talk, especially the Advaitis, if you talk to the Advaitis, for them, Bhagavan means an entity which is full of consciousness, which is pure, which does not have any of the defects of this material existence, etc. They don't talk about the personal aspects of Bhagavan. But those who worship Bhagavan, as Krishna, as Vishnu, they understand his personal aspects as well. So he says that you can also understand here, this sloka can also be understood by Advaita. If they understand him like that, that also makes sense. Yo bhavaha, this is Baladeva's commentary. Yo bhavaha maya iha avyaktaha ityaksharaha iti cha uchyate tam vedantaha paramam gatimahuhu. Purushat na param kinchitsa kashta paramagatihi ityadav. Yam bhavam prapya upetya janaha punaha na nivartante janma na apnuvanti sabhavo ahameva ityaha taditi. So everything is me. There is nothing other than me. So I'm talking about my effulgence, I'm talking about my constitutional nature, I'm talking about my abode. But everything in existence is a form of me, is me. Tat mama eva dhama swarupam paramam Srimat Sashtiyam Chaitanyam Atmanaha Swarupam itivat Swarupam itivat avagantavya. So although the Sashti Vibhakti is used, Sashti Vibhakti means the sixth case, mama. Mama means mine, of me, right? So it's as if he's talking about something that is not him. But even though he's using Sashti Vibhakti, okay, for example, if I say my laptop, and I use my off, this is off me. So off me means that is not mine, or that is not me. It is mine. It is mine, but it's not me. But in the case of Bhagavan, when he talks about something in Sashti Vibhakti, that this is mine, it should be understood as also him. It's not only his, but it's also Bhagavan only. It's Bhagavan, it's his own expansion, it's his own manifestation. He manifests as that. So Bhagavan and of Bhagavan are both the same thing, is identical. Thus, in many places in the Gita, he says, there is nothing other than me. Everything in existence is me only. Existence is me only. So in that sense, we are also him. Right? But we are Jivatmas. We are Jivatmas, and we have the potency, we have the potential to come under the influence of Maya. Whereas he, the Paramatma, does not have that potential. He cannot come under Maya. Maya can not influence him, Mahamaya. Yoga Maya, under his direction, serves him in different ways by sometimes making him enjoy his Leela in different ways. For example, as Rama, he goes around searching for his wife. Okay. So at that point of time in his mind, where is she gone? That anxiety he experiences. And that gives him that bliss of separation from his beloved. She's also a bhakta, his own bhakta. And she's a part of his own Antaranga Shakti, Sita Ma, right? So that is Yogamaya's arrangement. Because the question can be asked, if Bhagavan is all-knowing, then he would have known that Ravana took her away. And if he's all-powerful, then he could have just expanded himself, caught hold of Ravana and brought it back. Why didn't he do all that? That is called Leela. Leela means Yogamaya arranges that. His own Yogamaya in his seva arranges that thing for him. He enjoys in that manner. He has his bliss. He experiences that bliss, that ananda of going through that. So for him, anxiety is not like our anxiety. Our anxiety comes in so many ways, right? My loan has not been paid. The person is after me, pay the loan. Exam is tomorrow, but I have not prepared much. I have to go and prepare the whole night now. A lot of anxieties, right? So his anxiety, he also seems to have similar anxiety, but it's not similar. His anxiety is of a different nature altogether. That which is described as unmanifest, avyakta, and as never degrading, akshara, is said to be the supreme destination. That, upon attaining which one does not return to material existence, is my supreme state of existence. And finally, in the 22nd shloka, he ties up the whole discussion. He says, Purushaha saha paraha partha bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. So that supreme person that I have been talking about. So in the Gita, you will see that he talks about himself sometimes in the first person as me, mine, etc. But sometimes he switches to the third person. He describes himself as if it is somebody else in the third person. So now he's using the third person. Purusha saha, that person which I am describing, paraha, O Partha, bhaktya labhyaha ananyaya. He can be obtained by ananya bhakti, only by ananya bhakti. Yasya antasthani bhutani, all the living beings and all the material elements are located inside him. Yena sarvam idam tatam. And by him, everything is pervaded. Yena sarvam idam tatam means everything is pervaded by him. O Partha, that superior person within whom all living beings are situated and by whom everything is pervaded can be attained through pure bhakti. So what he began in the 14th shloka, he said, Ananya chetaha satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Now he's concluding in the 21st shloka. So from the 14th shloka to 21st shloka, he diverged and he's now converging. He's concluding that discussion. So these 8 shlokas together should be seen as one set, one discussion. Okay. So Ananya Bhakti is the message of the 8th chapter. And this is the culmination of the 8th chapter. Now, in the rest of the 8th chapter, from the 23rd shloka to the last shloka, there are about 5 or 6 shlokas more. I think 6 shlokas more. In those 6 shlokas, which we will do in the next class, there Sri Bhagavan just ties up the whole discussion. He talks about the yogi should know that there is 2 possibility, going and coming back. Some yogis will never come back. Some yogis will come back. And he says, these are the characteristics of those yogis who go, they come back. And then he finally concludes. He says that nothing other than bhakti will help you to come out of this material existence. That's how the 8th chapter eventually concludes. So today I will close the class. Before I close the discussion, I will show you what exactly are the outcomes of Ananya Bhakti. Why is Ananya Bhakti so powerful and why are its elements so inspiring? What is the inspiration for us to do Ananya Bhakti? So this is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It is a deep analysis of the book known as Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And on the Bhagavatam, so many other commentaries and analyses have been done. Okay, just like we are doing a PhD thesis now, right? You're doing PhD thesis. So what do? Take a topic and you go deep into that topic. You analyze the topic. You read the past literature, right? So in earlier times also, people did work which are equivalent to a PhD or far greater than a PhD. So one of the outcomes of that work, of such an endeavor, is this book known as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is a detailed analysis of the Bhagavatam. In detail, he analyzes the Bhagavatam, dissects it, topic, theme by theme, topic by topic, and brings out Uttama Bhakti. It's a thesis on Uttama Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti. This is Rupa Goswami. Yes. One of the Shata Goswamis, yes. Yes, yes. So Rupa Goswami was a disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's, he took instructions from Mahaprabhu. And so he wrote several works. He was a great scholar of his time. So before he got into this, before he started writing these works, before he even learned from Mahaprabhu, he was living in Bengal, actually a Brahmana family which migrated from Karnataka to Bengal, somewhere in the 13th, 14th century. They migrated from Karnataka to Bengal. They settled there. And then 5 or 6 generations later, these people were born: Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Jiva Goswami. Anupam Goswami was the father of Jiva Goswami. So they were not known by those names when they were born. They were known by other names, like names we have. But when they grew up, they were very brilliant, extraordinarily scholarly and brilliant. So Bengal at that time, in the 15th century, in the 1400, 1400s is the 15th century. So in the 15th century, towards the second half, the later part of the 15th century, Bengal was ruled by a very strong king, Muslim king called Hussein Shah, Nawab Hussein Shah. So Nawab Hussein Shah is known for the different things he did. Some of them are very, very cruel atrocities he performed on the Hindus. But apart from that, he did a lot of development in Bengal also. He's known for both. And modern day Bengal is in some sense an outcome of the things that he did at that time. So we won't go into those details in this class. But he was attracted to these two boys because they were in the same place that his capital was in. His capital was in a place called as Gauda. That's why that place was known as Gauda Desha. And these people in Gauda Desha, they were in a town called Ramakeli. So he engaged them. He appointed them in his administration. And he gave them the two topmost posts. Rupa and Sanatana were given the two topmost posts in his kingdom. One of them was made the governor of the kingdom. The other one was made something like the chief minister. So today we have governor and chief minister in every state, right? They are like the two topmost posts of every state in our administration. So they were like that. They were in those two positions. So everything that was decided in the state, in his kingdom, which covered Bengal and parts of Odisha, they were under the decisions made by them. Okay. So as the story goes, if you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, their story is described. At some point of time, Mahaprabhu comes into their life and they become eager to meet him. They hear about him, that this sannyasi is coming and he's performing bhakti. He's spreading the movement of bhakti. They hear about him and they go to meet him. And when they meet him, they look at him, they look at his appearance, they look at his aura around him, and they can immediately make out that he's not an ordinary human being. It's Bhagavan himself who has come here. So they immediately say that, we will come with you. Just take us with you. So he tells them, please stay for some more time and read Bhagavatam. Talk about Bhagavatam. I have something in mind for you. I have some work for you to do. But just stay put for some more time and then I will come back. And I will send a message to you that now you can come. So Mahaprabhu actually at that time is on his way to Vrindavan from Puri. He was living in Puri for a long time. So from Puri, he goes to Vrindavan and he comes back. So on his onward journey to Vrindavan, he meets them. And he says, just stay put for some more time. So they stay put and they are very impatient. They are not able to now perform their normal work because their mind is fully in him. They are completely in love. They're completely absorbed with him. So they want to just come out of their kingdom and they want to go and meet him and do what he wants them to do. So they're thinking about him. And first, Sanatan Goswami, even before Mahaprabhu comes, he says that now I cannot do my work anymore. And he starts taking classes on Bhagavatam. He goes out of his house. He goes, out of the palace, goes to his house and he sends a message to the king that I'm not feeling well. So please give me a few months break. I want to recuperate. I've got some disease. So please give me some break. So he's actually all right. He tells a lie because he wants to attend to Bhagavatam. He sends a message to the king and he says, and this also happens, it coincides with Nawab Hussein Shah doing a lot of cruelty on the Hindus because Nawab Hussein Shah is trying to expand his kingdom. So he goes to Odisha and he starts destroying the temples in Odisha one by one. It's one of the things that the Mughal emperors did, right? They destroyed the Hindu temples. So he destroys Hindu temples in Odisha and then starts giving orders to convert people. Yeah. So seeing all that, Sanatan Goswami says, I don't want to work with this guy anymore. So he comes out, he stays in his house and he starts taking classes on Bhagavatam. So a group of people come every day to his house. Every evening he takes classes, he does his dhyan. He's fully absorbed in Krishna. And when this happens, Hussein Shah after some time gets suspicious. What happened to this guy? He said he will come back after some time, but he's not come. Let me see what's wrong with him. So he comes to his house suddenly. He comes with his soldiers and the Bhagavatam class is going on and this Sanatan Goswami is sitting there very healthy, very normal. So he says, you told me a lie and you've been doing this. So Sanatana says that, yes, I could not work with you anymore because you were doing all these things. So he gets angry and he puts him in jail. He arrests him. He says that you have to agree not to do this anymore, and you come back until you agree, I will keep you in jail. So he puts him in a jail. And what to do now? Rupa Goswami is outside. He's still there in the kingdom. He's still doing the administration. So he decides now it's time for me also to leave. I have to first arrange for my brother to come out, and I also have to quit from here. Otherwise, there's no thing. So he tells the king, look, these are the differences, and we cannot work with you anymore. So please let us go. So finally, he convinces him. He lets him go. He lets Rupa Goswami go. So what Rupa Goswami does is he uses his money. It is said that he was so rich because the Nawab was so happy with him. He had given him a lot of wealth, a lot of gold coins. Those days, gold coins were the currency, right? India also as a country was very rich. People were dealing with gold. So he had huge amount of gold coin. It is said that he had as much gold that could be fitted into a large boat. He'd fill up a large boat with that gold. That many gold coins he has. He does not take anything with him. He gives all of it to his family. He takes some part of it and gives it to Sanatan Goswami. He goes to the prison and he has a chat. He discusses with him. He says, let's work out an idea. They work out an idea. And he says, I'll give you these coins. Make use of them. They work out a plan. Sanatan Goswami talks to the guard outside. He tells the guard, look, I have something to tell you. I can make you a very rich person. And I'll give you 5 gold coins or something, some number of gold coins, provided you do whatever I say. He says, what should I do? He says, look, I'll go to the river for a bath and then I won't come back. And he says, if you don't come back, the king will kill me. He'll chop off my head. No, you just tell him that I got drowned. You saw me drowning. I drowned and I died. That's enough. And I will find my way. I won't come back. So you will not have to worry. I'm going out of this place. So he leaves like that. He comes out and he finds his way to Vrindavan. So on the way to Vrindavan, he meets Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has now reached Vrindavan and he is coming back from Vrindavan to Puri. On the way to Puri, he meets him and he takes lessons from him. But even before that, Rupa Goswami has already left and he has gone towards Vrindavan. He has told the king, he has given his money. He said that this money, most of that money, so 10 gold coins he gave to Sanatan Goswami, which he used for his escape from here. And on the way to Vrindavan also, Sanatan Goswami makes use of the remaining gold coins to keep himself safe and reach the place. Right? He doesn't carry anything further with him. Now, Rupa Goswami gives all the wealth to his family members. He says, please take care of it and you'll be fine. So leaving that money with his family, he tells them, I'm going, and he comes to Vrindavan. So on the way, first Rupa Goswami is ahead of Sanatan Goswami. So first he meets Mahaprabhu. So it is said that in the place called the Dashashwamedh Ghat in Varanasi. So Sanatan Goswami, I think, meets him there. Exact details I will get you later. But Rupa Goswami meets him in Prayag. He meets him in the Bindu Madhava temple. There's a Bindu Madhava temple in Prayag, and there's one more in Varanasi also. Prayag, yes. Prayag is Allahabad. Yeah. Yeah, it was named as Allahabad. Now it's come back to Prayag. So in Prayag, in the Bindu Madhav temple, Rupa Goswami meets Sanatan Goswami, meets Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu he have 10 days of discussion. In 10 days, he takes lessons for him and gives him the entire philosophy, the interpretation of Bhagavatam. And so when Mahaprabhu then moves from Prayag to Varanasi, at that time, Sanatan Goswami, who's coming behind, he stays there. So he meets him, and then there's a lot of discussion between them. So in this way, Mahaprabhu, he gave them lessons, both Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, and then they went to Vrindavan, stayed there for the rest of their life. They stayed there and they wrote these books. An enormous amount of books were written by them. They were both great scholars. They were the best among the scholars of that point of time. So from one of those books is this particular shloka, which tells us about the 6 outcomes of ananya bhakti, uttama bhakti. Kleshagni shubhadha moksha lagutakrit sudhurlabha sandrananda visheshatma Shri Krishna Karshini Jasa. 6 outcomes, and they are arranged in a hierarchical manner. The very first outcome is called Kleshagni. Kleshagni. Klesha means all the bad things, inauspicious things, undesirable things, difficulties, suffering. All that is combined under the word Klesha. Klesha Gna. Gna means that which kills, destroys. So the first outcome of bhakti, when somebody starts doing bhakti, sadhana bhakti, is it destroys undesirable things in their life. If they have bad qualities in them, bad qualities like addiction to something that is not good for them, simple things like smoking, drugs, alcohol, or meat eating. So different kinds of things which are unfavorable to a sattvic life, to the life of bhakti, something which will harm them in future. Those undesirable things leave them after some time. Even if they don't try to get rid of them, from within, the inspiration comes to leave them. That goes out. And naturally, when those things are gone, a lot of sattva comes into the body and good qualities emerge. So things like anger, losing your temper quickly, things like anxieties, worries, greed, hankering for accumulating wealth, hankering for accumulating power, hankering for recognition, these things automatically leave us. That is the meaning of Kleshagni. So basically, the analysis, if you see in the Bhagavatam, in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the detailed analysis, which I will do in a future class, is why this happens is because pap is destroyed. All the pap that we have accumulated, which is the cause of all these things. Why we are suffering is because of the pap that we have accumulated in the past. Even our bad tendencies, the tendency to do wrong things, is also an outcome of that pap. So those tendencies also are destroyed with this. The second outcome of Uttama Bhakti is Shubhadha. So on the one hand, the bad things go away. The second outcome is the good things come in. It bestows auspiciousness, the good and the desirable. So good things come in, like good people come to us. We make good friendships. We learn how to choose our company. We learn how to discriminate between wrong and right. Our sense of discrimination improves. So we get less into trouble than we did earlier. Right? We still make mistakes, but those mistakes are now much less than they were earlier. Here, Jiva Goswami is the nephew of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, and he excelled both of them. He wrote even bigger texts, even more detailed analysis. One of his classic works is called the Shat Sandarbha, 6 Sandarbha, which is an elaborate analysis of Bhagavatam again, but he goes deep into Vedanta philosophy. And it's not easy to study that book. That book also has, it requires a certain level of scholarship to understand what he writes in that book. It's considered a classic text today. No.
What were the instructions exactly that he gave them?
So Mahaprabhu gave in those 10 days, in those 10 sessions that he had, it's like a course, 10 sessions, we have a course here in this XLRI. So in those 10 sessions he had with him, he gave him the essential elements of that philosophy, of his interpretation of Vedanta, his understanding of the Bhagavatam, Mahaprabhu's understanding of Bhagavatam, and Mahaprabhu's description of Uttama Bhakti. So whatever description of Uttama Bhakti that they are giving us in these books is what they learned from Mahaprabhu in those days, in that time. Rupa Goswami in turn taught Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was both the nephew of Rupa Goswami and his disciple as well. He took Diksha from him and also learned from him. He served him and learned from him, lived with him. And he then wrote, he was extremely brilliant. If you see his works, they're very terse, and he created a whole system of grammar, just like Panini. Panini Sutras. Panini gave the rules of grammar, Sanskrit grammar, right? Panini's original work is called the Ashtadhyayi, and that is taught even today. That's the dominant form of grammar even today, right? And Jiva Goswami created an alternate system of grammar, the same rules that Panini teaches, using the names of Krishna. All of them are using the names of Krishna. Using those names, he explained the rules of grammar. And that is called the Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. Yeah, Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. Harinama Amritam. Names of Hari are like nectar, Amrita. and a Vyakaranam based on that thing. I have a copy of that book. So he defines first the names. He defines some 40 names of Vishnu, and then using those names, he describes the rules. It's very beautiful. It's a classic work. I don't know much about it, but I know it. A lot of people have described it to me, how it is. Those who have gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, coming back to this. So Jiva Goswami, he writes a commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He's written a commentary. It's called Durgama Sangamani. Means that which makes it easy to understand Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So in this commentary, he explains this word Shubhadha, as that which makes the Bhakta very dear to everybody. Because of Shubhadha, he becomes very dear in the society in which he is living. Wherever he lives, the people around him, they develop a liking for him because of his nature. His nature is so pleasing. And he also is of the nature that he doesn't have any enmity with anybody. He treats everybody with respect, with love. So he has a very, very, very amiable relationship with everyone. Although he's detached, he's completely detached from this world, but he maintains a very amiable, a friendly relationship with everybody. Okay. A classic example of this is Sanatan Goswami himself. When Sanatan Goswami lived in Vrindavan, he was very popular among the Vrajavasis. Very popular. He was very liked by them. They used to come and visit him, and they used to ask him all kinds of questions, not only about the philosophy. They were not learning philosophy from him. Maybe a few of them did, but they came to him and asked him things like, my daughter has to get married now. Can you advise me whether this groom would be suitable for her? But they would ask mundane questions. They're normal questions. Or somebody is sick. What can I do? Would you advise me to go for this kind of treatment or that kind of treatment? Because he was a governor of a state, right? He was very intelligent. So he knew a lot about mundane matters also, not only about philosophy. So he would advise them. So he was welcoming for any kind of people. He would not say, okay, you don't want to hear this philosophy. You're talking about mundane things. Go away. Don't come to me. Okay. Some people may talk like that. I'm interested only in Vedanta. I'm interested only in Bhakti. I don't want to talk about all these things. This is Maya. No. Kindness. Kindness means you give somebody what he requires. He wants some help. Help him in what way he can be helped. Right? Somebody needs philosophy, give him philosophy. He can understand. So this was Sanatan Goswami's way of living. And he was so much liked by them that today in Vrindavan, so he got the name at that point of time. They used to, because they didn't know these words like Sanatan Goswami, we call him. The philosophers called him by that name. So they used to call him Baba, Mudia Baba. Mudia Baba, Mudia because he was bald. He was shaven, clean shaven. Right? He used to shave his head clean. So some of the Babas, they used to have long hair. They used to have a beard. And some Babas used to be shaved, clean shaved. So he was one of the people who was clean shaved. So they would call him Mudia Baba. Today, since his time, since the time that he attained Samadhi, since that day, in Vrindavan, Guru Purnima is also called Mudia Purnima. Right? Are you aware of it? In Rajbhumi, Guru Purnima is called Mudia Purnima. It's named after him. Why? Because on that day, a lot of people who live in UP, who live in northern India, a lot of people, Rajasthan, UP, Punjab, they come to Vrindavan on Guru Purnima day. Guru Purnima day, you can't go to Vrindavan. It's flooded with people. They use helicopters. Today, the government uses helicopters to survey Vrindavan to make sure there is no untoward incident. You can't enter that place. Govardhan, because Govardhan Parikrama was a favorite activity of Sanatan Goswami. So in his memory, today in Vrindavan, on that day of Guru Purnima, Mudia Purnima, Govardhan Parikrama is performed. So all the roads going to Govardhan on that day are blocked for traffic. Traffic cannot go there. They are stopped on the highway itself. You have to take rickshaws. The rickshaws available, small rickshaws are. You have to go by a rickshaw or something. After some point, the rickshaw also won't go. You have to walk and go, and then do Govardhan Parikrama. So once I happened to visit and I saw helicopters overhead going around Govardhan to see that nothing goes wrong. That is the scale of this thing. Okay.
The circumference is like 20 kilometers.
Yeah, 21. Yeah, 21 kilometers. Yeah. So this is the meaning of Shubhadha. Means a person is remembered after hundreds of years. People remember him. They are inspired by his teachings. Moksha lagutakrit, the third quality. Okay. So the first two are considered as elements of what is called a sadhana bhakti. Then the third and the fourth one, the third one, moksha lagutakrit. Moksha appears insignificant. When bhakti develops further, it becomes bhav bhakti. Bhav means you start developing deep attachment and emotion, excitement. When you think of Krishna, you get excited. Excitement comes, bhav. Okay, that can't be imagined. We should not imagine this with the mind. It happens naturally. It should happen naturally. So when bhav comes, the first quality is moksha lagutakrit. Moksha, the thought of mukti, not being born again, that looks stupid. It looks, so what? So what if I am born again or not born again? Both are same. Bhakti is so sweet that it makes moksha look very small in front of it. Right? Sudurlabha, rare. So this quality of bhakti becomes apparent that, oh, I've got something extremely rare. It is not available to everybody. Even though it's so easy. Shri Bhagavan says, ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha. I'm easy to attain. Even though he says it's easy, sadhana bhakti is so easy to perform. Bhav and prem are not easy to attain. They are given by him very rarely. He wants to see our genuineness, nishkapatta. Nishkapatta is the core quality of bhakti. If at all there is one thing to say about bhakti, then that is being genuine. Absolutely no cheating. Genuine to ourselves, genuine to others. So it's very rare. And finally, the fifth and the sixth quality of bhakti are prema. When one gets prem, that is even higher than bhav. Sandrananda Visheshatma. It bestows the presence of prem, that Swarup Shakti inside us, gives us extreme happiness, extreme form of happiness, which cannot be imagined with the mind, which cannot be created with the mind. Right now, when I talk about happiness, we can imagine something with the mind. But even though we can imagine something, that is not what prem is. We can't imagine it. It is something that cannot be got by imagination. It has to be only got when Bhagavan gives it. Bhagavan gives it to us by his own kripa. And at that time, we experience this Sandrananda. Sandram means that which is very condensed, very dense, something that is dense. So Sandrananda means dense happiness, not just general happiness, not a feeling of just lightness, not a feeling of being relaxed. It's much more than that. It's dense happiness, very dense happiness. Sandrananda Visheshatma, Shri Krishna Karshini Chasa. Finally, when one reaches that stage, Krishna becomes attracted to that person. Until now, only this person was attracted to Krishna, and Krishna was attracted to him, but not in a very powerful way. Krishna was attracted. That's why Krishna said, I should, out of my compassion, I should give him bhakti. I should draw him towards me. So until now, Krishna is the object and we are being drawn towards him. But when somebody reaches this stage of purification, then that person becomes the source of attraction to Krishna. And this is one reason why Sri Bhagavan does not give this very easily, because moment he gives this to somebody, then he cannot resist himself. He cannot hold himself. That person becomes more attractive to him than his own self. So he goes and falls at the feet of that person. He becomes so attracted to that person. That person becomes his object of worship. So Sri Krishna Karshini Jasa. This is the sixth outcome of bhakti, which is attained when one gets prema. Okay, so these are the six outcomes of ananya bhakti or uttama bhakti. So thinking about these should actually inspire us. That's the inspiration. Right? That's the inspiration to even try to enter this path. Why we should begin this path. So even things like normal peace of mind. Normally, what do we look for when we come to spirituality? Why do people come to spirituality? Because they're disturbed. Right? A lot of them come because they're disturbed. Some people come because they're inquisitive. They want to know, what is this? I've studied everything. I know everything, but I don't know what this thing called spirituality. People are doing yoga, meditation. Why are they doing it? They want to know. They come out of curiosity. That's one class of people. But a majority of people who come to spirituality come because they want peace of mind, right? Disturbed in the mind. Something that's lacking inside. Want to find out, where is it? Where's something higher? There's bhakti, there's yoga, there's meditation, dhyan. That's just the first outcome. Peace of mind is just the first outcome, Kleshagni. Moment Kleshagni comes, peace of mind comes. So within a few days of doing bhakti, one experiences peace of mind. But there's far more to achieve. And that should be our goal. And that is what this book is showing us. So I've taken a very long time in today's class, and let me now give you time to express yourself and also ask your questions. Both those of you who are online as well as those of you here.
Shri Krishna, Golakdham, everyone is different. Everyone is like self-eliminated.
Yes. Everyone in Golok Dham is self-effulgent. Yes.
But in Swargaloka they are not.
In Swargalok also, because the body in Swargaloka is not this body, this made of this Panchabhutas. That's a different kind of body. So the body the Atma gets in Swargaloka is in such a way that the Sukha, all the different types of sense pleasure, which can be obtained only in Swargaloka, can be experienced. With this body, even if somebody puts us in Swargaloka with this body, we can't experience that pleasure. To experience that pleasure, we need that body. Yeah.
So Swargaloka also is self-eliminated.
It is. It is.
Similarly, it would be like Talatala and Sutana also might be.
In Talatala, Sutala, I don't know if the bodies are self-eliminating. There it is said that the jewels, the gold, the jewels and the gold, they are so bright.
Right.
They are throwing light everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Not the bodies of the people. Because there the tamas is more. Tamas. Yeah. 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 Here, you see, to give you a very crude analogy, when you go upwards towards Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, the Sattva Guna increases. Yeah. And if you see how sattvic people are, even in this world, even on earth with this body, if you see a very sattvic person who is performing bhakti or whatever process of yoga, they are living very sattvic life. You will see a halo on their face. You'll see a kind of what is called as ojas. We say ojas, right? You'll see a brightness on their face, right? Yeah. You'll see that brightness. So that is the brightness of sattva. When there is sattva, automatically a certain brightness emerges in us, right? So even the practice of bhakti for a short time brings that sattva. It destroys the rajas and tamas if it is done properly. Yeah.
It's happening so much in this Mrityu Loka.
Yes. Even in the Mrityu Loka, if you can experience that ojas.
In Satya Loka, Brahma Loka, it would be like
Yes. Yes. That is why that illumination, that effulgence is natural.
fact, so it's not something of mythology. So I'm very convinced that in those there would be those lokas.
Yes.
The way we are interacting there will be people who are interacting there, and it would be much more definitely.
Yes. So the best way to prove this. So if people ask us what is the proof of all this, the best way to prove it is by experiencing it. Yeah. When we start doing this, we start experiencing that sattva, that happiness, and then we know there is something more to explore, right? And there's nothing to lose. What do you lose?
cannot describe it. You have to experience it.
Exactly. If somebody says that you do some japa for some time every day, all the investment you need is some time. That's all. Which anyway you would have spent in something else. So what is there to lose by experiencing bhakti for some time? Right? There's nothing. Yes, anyone online has anything to ask? Arunabha?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Arunabha. Do you have anything to ask today? Could you
No, sir,
understand?
not today, sir.
Could you understand all that I was saying? No?
Yes, I would say 50% yes. It was a bit deep philosophical today, sir.
Okay.
50% yes, I did understand, but not 100%.
All right.
Sir, I'll go through the recording once, sir.
Sure. And anyway, since you're coming for classes regularly, you will pick up the remaining as we go on. We'll be
Sir,
touching
sir,
upon similar points repeatedly.
sir, sir. Thank you, sir.
These names are so good, sir. Bhakti, Rasa, Amrita, Sindhu.
Yeah.
Chaitanya, Charita, Amrita.
Yeah.
That book of past times of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
The Sanskrit language is so full of exact meaning. Not like no in English and then knowledge. The words are so different and different. Like
Yeah.
KNOW is no, NO is no, but when we make it knowledge, it becomes knowledge. The
Yes.
sounds are so different from spellings.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
And bhakti is a process in which we don't have to overnight give up anything. Instead, we bring something into our life. We bring a certain kind of richness into our life, because of which what has to go will go in time. We allow it to go. We don't have to leave our job and go somewhere. We don't have to leave our house and go somewhere. We can be exactly in the condition we are and introduce something new into our life, introduce something good into our life. Okay? That is the process of bhakti. There's something that people have asked me repeatedly, that I think I should not start bhakti now. I should start bhakti after so many years, because now I'm busy with my job. I'm busy with this. Right? Because the fear is there that if I start bhakti, then I have to give this up. I have to give that up. But that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Good. So if there are no further questions today, I will close the class. We can move on. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदगुं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवीव चक्षुराततं तद्विप्रासो विपन्यवो जागृवागुंसः समिन्धते विष्णोर्यत्परमं पदं पर्याप्त्या अनन्तरायाय सर्वस्तमोतिरात्र उत्तममहद्भवति सर्वस्याप्त्यै सर्वस्य जित्यै सर्वमेव तेनाप्नोति सर्वं जयति ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम तत्सत् धन्यवादाः पुनर्मिलामः